Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, February 1st, all the way through to Sunday, February 7th of 2021. And this week, we're going to find ourselves in a bit of a struggle to come back into balance or to maintain balance. Venus, the planet of balance and harmony and equilibrium, is moving into the sign of Aquarius, and it's going to be activating the stellium in Aquarius this week, and it's especially going to be activating the square between Saturn and Uranus, which is very active right now and is building to its peak energy at the middle of February. So what does this all mean? It means that we're going to be craving tranquility, we're going to be craving harmony, we're going to be craving group connection and group interaction, especially with Venus in the sign of Aquarius, but there are going to be disruptions, delays, hardships, blockages, things that are telling us no. This is also where we've been making adjustments to our plans very gradually and in ways that were very necessary over the course of the last month in order to make sure that we can create the change that we want to create in our lives, that we can create the independence that we want to create in the area of our lives that's being impacted by this energy. And this is a week where not only do we have Mercury retrograde in the sign of Aquarius, causing us to have to go back, rethink our plans after all of the new information and new changes have come in, but we also have Venus joining in on this action, and it's causing us to really crave this coming back into balance. And so that's going to be a big focal point for the week ahead. But before we get into that, I do want to mention, first off, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you never miss an important astrology update. I do a new weekly forecast every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And so if you're not subscribed, you might miss it. And even if you're not new to my channel, the way that I structure my forecast videos is that I always start with a 5 to 10 minute general overview of the energy for the week ahead. Do not skip this because this will provide an important context for the energy for the week ahead, especially when we get to your more individualized forecast for all 12 signs. Speaking of which, when you do get to the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign so you can get a much more holistic overview of the energy for the week ahead. The rising sign will be the most accurate interpretation, the sun sign will be secondary, and the moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this tends to be more subjective and more internalized. Finally, at the end of each video, I do a 2 to 3 minute overview of the energy we'll be covering in next week's forecast so you can plan even farther ahead and know what's coming up farther off into the future. So stick around to the end of the video if you're interested in that. So let's get back into the general energy for the week ahead. So as I mentioned before, Venus moving into Aquarius. This is happening on Monday. This is also the same day that we'll have the sun squaring Mars. And so this day could feel a little bit tense. We might be feeling a little bit enthusiastic and a little bit passionate, but it could also be activating some of those frustrating energies or highlighting where we need to initiate something. We finally need to get the ball rolling with something. But, you know, we have some blockages. We have some things that we have to kind of go over, review, revise, re-edit with that Mercury retrograde going on right now. And also because that Uranus square to Saturn is building, right? That Uranus square to Saturn is an energy where we're kind of pushing up against a wall, where we feel this need to do something new, innovative, exciting in some area of our lives. We want to break free from the old, the monotonous, the mundane. But on the one hand, we're feeling resistance within ourselves to changing it because what we have is comfortable. On an ideological level, on an informational level, on a physical level, on an interpersonal level, there's something that we want to hold on to that's keeping us from fully moving into that change. And there are also some external circumstances where we have certain responsibilities that we have to adhere to, where we can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We have to look at our foundations and what actually is working for us and what's worth keeping around as we go through and make these changes, and maybe make smaller, more gradual changes so we don't rock that that foundation and break something that's working really well for us in our lives. That Mars energy is like, yes, we need to take action, but Saturn's like, wait a minute. Before you take action, look at this over here, right? Make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. And Mercury in retrograde is causing us to have to go back and rethink things and really make sure that we have on an intellectual level all of our plans, all of our paperwork, uh, all of our things in order, right? And that's part of this Mercury retrograde. Also in Aquarius, lots of Aquarian energy right now. This is also a lot of really social energy, which is interesting because it's like everybody is probably, a lot of people are probably feeling right now like they want to socialize, they want to connect with people more on a group level, in real life if possible, or through the web, through whatever group associations you can access right now. But there's, again, those blockages, those limitations, restrictions, very literally on our ability to have social interactions in a lot of places throughout the world right now. I'm very lucky to be in a place where it's not so restrictive, but I know a lot of you are dealing with that as well. And that could be a big frustration that people are feeling. And we are seeing in certain places around the world, people starting to protest and rebel against these like isolation restrictions and things of that nature. So kind of right on time for that. And so this is a part of the energy, and this is something that is impacting everybody on an individual level. That is a global energy as well. And so I just want to mention that that could be a big part of it for a lot of people, because these are social energies in Aquarius. This is where we want to connect. And so this is something that people are craving right now. That's also part of the reason why I launched my cosmic community at the end of last year, because I was craving more connection with community and things like that. And it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I thought about doing it in real life, right? And I wasn't able to do it in real life, so I had to pivot. I had to change my plans. And so the cosmic community was born, and that's a good place, by the way, if you guys are interested in that, to interact with like-minded people who are interested in astrology. I just introduced a brand new forum feature, so you can actually interact independently of me and get to know each other, learn about astrology through each other's experiences, things like that. And we do have twice a month live meetings. Our next new moon gathering is actually happening next Saturday. I'm super excited for that. It's the new moon in Aquarius, speaking of Aquarius energies. And so if you want to join in on the intention setting and learn about the energy for the entire month, or the entire lunar month beginning with that new moon in Aquarius, the cosmic community is definitely the place to be. The link is down in the description below. But going back to kind of what's going on here, we have that Venus energy is a very interpersonal energy. It's an energy where we do want to connect, right? It's an energy of bringing things together. And even in challenging aspect, and even in kind of a strange placement in Aquarius, which is a friendly placement, friendly yet detached, right? That's the Aquarian way. We're cool, but don't get too close. But this is an energy where we are going to be craving a way to come together, right? And to connect even more so. And so that's going to be a part of the energy that we'll be experiencing into the week ahead. And, even though it's technically a benefic energy with Venus, right? It's the lesser benefic planet. It does bring positive things like beauty, harmony, tranquility, interpersonal relationships, connection, right? That bringing together, that merging of energies that we just talked about. When it's activating kind of this square energy, there's still going to be complications. It's not going to be as predominant in a negative sense as like a malefic planet or even a neutral planet making these squares, but it is going to cause issues. And this could be where people want to overindulge in some way, and Saturn's telling them no. So it's kind of like that's part of the energy where you have to know where your limitations are when it comes to overindulging in this area in one way or another, because Venus does rule that pleasure, and the pleasurable activity might be learning about something new, diving into the facts, or it could be that social connection where you're doing it a little too hard, too fast, a little too much. But it could just be overindulging in like mental activity where your brain is on overload and it felt really good, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I need to stop this. And that could be part of it too. All right. And so that is my general forecast. And I do have a couple of just very quick announcements before we move into the forecast for all 12 signs. The first of which being just to remind you guys that I do have an email list. This is a really great way to stay connected if something crazy happens and YouTube goes down or whatever. You know, people are being censored to platform, those types of things. I don't think that's going to happen to me right now. But either way, make sure you stay connected. And I also do a monthly free newsletter where I give you a rundown, a written rundown of the energy for the entire month ahead. And that's going to be sent out to you guys at the start of next week. And so if you want to get in on that, make sure that you subscribe to my newsletter. And also, I just want to remind you guys that this is your last chance to pre-order my Spring Electional Astrology Guide. It's going to be available for everybody to start planning and using to plan for success in the springtime on February 2nd. And so you have until February 2nd to pre-order at the discounted rate, and then you can just get going with making all of your plans for spring. And the spring energy looks a lot nicer, especially March. So you want to make sure you get the guide before March. That's your big window of opportunity there. And so that's all I wanted to mention to you guys today. And also another good way to stay connected is to follow me on Instagram. I do a lot of stuff on Instagram that I don't do on here. Like Thursdays, I do Q&A in my Instagram stories. I share a lot of just, reminders of what's going on astrologically, additional astrology content, things of that nature that I can't really share on YouTube in little bite-sized pieces on Instagram. So that is what I wanted to mention to you guys. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. And so for Aries, this very literally for you can be a craving of social interaction. And this is actually a really great time for Aries to utilize that outlet. So if you are able to connect with your friends or groups of people or an organization that you're a part of and have that interpersonal connection in real life and in real time in a way that feels comfortable to you and that, works for the times that we're in, then this could be a really great week for you to do that. This is a great week in general to make connections. So if you are making connections in Aquarius over the internet via technology, that works just as well. But any connections that you make right now are going to help you to feel more at ease. They're going to help you to feel more at peace. And these are going to tend to be very long-lasting, well-established connections that stand the test of time. And so this is a great week to put yourself out there. This is also a great week with Mercury in retrograde to revisit old connections with people from your past that you miss and bring them back in for the long haul, right? These really solid, really good, stable relationships that provided something of value. Bring those back into your life this week, right? That could be something that you could do with this energy that could be very helpful. And if you're having some sort of financial stress or some stress or strain around trying to gain more financial independence and things of that nature, which you might be, there could be some financial disruption going on. The community aspect of just kind of coming together with people you care about or, coming together with a group, that could actually be a really great way to alleviate some of that pressure. So that's where the pressure release valve is for you this week. So make sure you harness that energy while it is here. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, for you, there's been a reset going on in your 10th house. You're kind of rethinking maybe your career path, or you're trying to embark on a new journey or start a new project or a new pursuit, or take advantage of a new opportunity in the area of career, public standing. This could also have to do with you kind of thinking about your legacy that you want to leave behind after you're finished working. This could have to do with kind of a reset with your relationship with people in positions of power and authority, things of that nature as well. Your public standing and the way other people view you. It doesn't have to be tied to career if that's not applicable to you, but for most people, this will be tied into your work. And this is where you're trying to kind of come back into balance. You've been making a lot of changes on a personal level. You've been trying to get things moving in a different direction on a career level, especially if you are a Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from really 5 to 15 degrees. You've been feeling this in a way that feels kind of tense, like I need to do this right this second, but you realize that you have to pace yourself and do things the right way, or maybe you're comfortable in your current position that's been preventing you from moving forward with the changes that you need to make in your career. In either case, This is a week of coming back into balance. Maybe you've changed too much. Maybe you haven't changed enough. There could be somebody that comes in and provides an opportunity for you, or literally just says something to you that throws you on the right track, or that helps you to rein it back in, or that helps you to find balance or figure out what it actually is that you want, what you desire when it comes to your career, so you can start reformulating those plans and making those moves for yourself. This is where you are seeking better balance and greater harmony in your work, in addition to greater independence. And so that's going to be a part of the energy that's being activated for you this week. This could be a good week for making work-related connections. Just know that those connections might not be fully stable or long-lasting. They might seem long-lasting, but there might be some aspects to these connections that you're not fully seeing, or that might be kind of disrupted later on for one reason or another. So just kind of things to take into consideration. But this is a period where you're really going to be rethinking your career goals, rethinking your big plans out in the world. And Venus is going to help you to not feel so agitated about it, if that's been the case for you so far. Okay, for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Gemini, this is a very nice energy. So this Venus energy is coming into your 9th house. It's going to be hitting Saturn. It's going to be squaring Uranus. But, it also, for Gemini, is born anywhere from 0 to 5 degrees this week. It's going to be hitting your ascendant in a trine. And I would say anywhere even from 0 to 10 degrees, especially later in the week, you're going to start to feel this in a very positive way. And so for you, this is really about, so you set something in motion when it comes to learning a new skill, teaching something, connections with foreign countries, connections with different ideologies, different religious philosophies, different viewpoints, things of that nature, right? You're probably going more on a mental journey, or embarking on a mental journey at this stage, at least, as opposed to a travel journey or an actual real life adventure, just because of what's going on in the world. But maybe you're planning a travel adventure or something like that for later on down the line. In either case, this Venus energy might bring somebody or something in that's going to help you to see the other side of things. And so maybe you have a very rigid viewpoint of the world, or of the way things need to be, or of what's moral, what's ethical, what's valuable, and what's right. And somebody comes in and very gently and very easily shakes you out of that mindset, so that way you can incorporate new ideals, so you can incorporate new mindsets, new concepts, a new perspective on the world. This could also be a good time to reach out to a teacher, or to find a new teacher in one way or another, especially if that teacher is tied into alternative philosophical concepts, Aquarian types of themes, right? So maybe you're somebody who's watching this video who's interested in studying astrology. Maybe you find someone who can mentor you, or maybe you find a new teacher or a new course of study that really resonates with you, and that's something that you could bring back in. Also, this is a good time to bring back in old information. So if you've taken courses, like higher educational courses in the past, reviewing that material can help you to find those nuggets of gold that you can bring back into the mix. But there's been kind of an internal frustration for Gemini, and especially Geminis maybe have been losing sleep or feeling disrupted, kind of more on that subjective level. And this Venusian energy can provide an outlet through study, right? So this is going to show you something, or brings some concepts together for you, even that were maybe more piecemeal, and now you realize how they can synergize and how you can utilize this more appropriately. For Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancers, this energy is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is the house of debt, joint finances, other people's money, taxes, inheritance. It's also death, transformation, healing, psychological issues, intimacy, power and control issues. So many things happen in the 8th house. And you've been embarking on a brand new journey, and initiating a brand new cycle in those areas. So maybe on a physical level and on a very mundane level, you've been thinking about making investments and growing your resources that way. Maybe you've had something come up with your partner's resources. Maybe you have been thinking about ways that you can work toward expanding your resources and paying off debts. Maybe it's been a little kind of all over the place. Like, you think you're making progress, and then you have some sort of crazy thing go on. In either case, Venus is coming in and it's going to help alleviate some of the pressure in that area. It's going to help you to come back into balance. It's going to help you to find the connections that you need to make. And it could also bring in a little bit of money unexpectedly for some of you, that can help you to reach and achieve your financial goals. This would also be a really great time for those of you who are working on healing through internal psychological issues like past trauma, fear, anxiety, control issues, OCD, addictions, things like that also fall into the 8th house. If you're working on, healing and overcoming issues like that, this is a really great time to reach out to somebody in partnership. So maybe working one-on-one, doing some sort of talk therapy. It might feel a little frustrating at first. You might have to kind of go back and forth and pivot a little bit, but it's something that could ultimately be very helpful and very useful to you here, or revisiting an old healing modality or an old form of therapy. That could work for you as well with Mercury retrograding in that house. For Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leos, this is happening in your 7th house. And so there could have been a lot of frustration, and there's like a need for you to set something in motion that is going to impact you in your partnerships for at least the next 20 years. You're going through the beginning of a major cycle, and there could be conflicts going on when it comes to your career or your public standing and your relationships with others. And those could be kind of frustrating. It's kind of like you wanted to change something, you wanted to do something new out in the world, but you have these obligations to others, or maybe your partner isn't on board with it or something along those lines. If you've been struggling in partnership, if there's something that you've been really trying to bring together and it's been a little all over the place, or it's been tense, this Venus energy coming into your 7th house is going to help bring back balance and harmony and equilibrium in your relationships. This is a good time to, have a heart-to-heart or do something pleasurable together in partnership with somebody else. It's not going to fix everything, permanently, but it will be a good first step, and it will help to alleviate some of the pressure. So it's kind of like a pressure release valve in your relationships. And so, for the long term, whatever it is that's coming up for you this week, yes, you might need to make some changes in your partnerships, but those changes, even though they feel heavy right now, are going to benefit you and help you to come together and have much more balance in your relationship. Reciprocity, right? You want a relationship that's mutually beneficial. Even if you're not in a relationship, it's something that you might be thinking about. And this could also apply to friends, business partnerships, other people that you connect with one-on-one. So you can think about it in that regard also. For Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgos, this energy is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines, all things that Virgos are pretty solid with. But this could be a time, where you've been setting off on a new journey involving maybe a new work-related pursuit, maybe a new health-related pursuit. This could be the beginning of a new cycle involving something that you want to create or do in service of others. This could also be involving pets or animals, or something along those lines as well. But there's something that you've set in motion over the past couple of months, but it's been a little all over the place. It could be that you're embarking on a new journey for gaining additional education for your work so you can change things and become more independent, or begin a new cycle and do something new with your work moving forward. And it's been a little, there's been maybe some unexpected hurdles. Well, this Venusian energy is going to help rein things in and calm things down to a certain extent in the area of work, health, and daily routines, but it's also going to highlight the imbalances a little bit more so. And so, especially when those imbalances are coming from your own perspective, your own ideologies, your own understanding of the world, your worldviews, right? When those imbalances are coming from your mind, they're coming from your perception of reality and things that you're holding on very rigidly that you're realizing are not necessarily true anymore. That's what's really going to be highlighted, and you're going to have to kind of reconfigure, reconvene, and rebalance. There could also be issues coming up for you this week involving coworkers, employees, office mates, people that you work one-on-one with in any capacity in your work, that type of thing where there could be some sort of disruption and a need to come back into balance, to work things out, to come back into harmony within that realm. So that could be part of this energy as well. It could also just, if you've been going a little too hard and a little too crazy with some sort of new health routine, this could help you to kind of see that you need to maintain a little bit of balance, or if you haven't been going hard enough. So this is going to kind of redistribute your energy as it's appropriate based on your specific situation there. For Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libras, this is happening in your fifth house, which is the house of fun and joy and play and children and romance and all sorts of nice things. And so lucky Libra, this is going to be impacting you in a much more positive way. And if you've been feeling financial pressures or strain, or there's been a lot of chaotic energy going on involving joint finances, debt, taxes, inheritance, healing, old trauma, anxiety, addictions, compulsions, things like that, this is going to kind of be a pressure release valve for you this week, focusing on creating a strong foundation for your hobbies, for your passions, for the things that bring you joy and pleasure. That's going to be the best way to mitigate that energy and the best way to use this influence. This could be a really great time to establish a new romantic relationship. And this could also be a really great time to kind of bring an old romantic relationship back into balance and reignite the passions, but more for the long term. It's not about just like one night or something like that. It's about, bringing something back around so that way you can incorporate it from here on out. And this could also be you coming back into balance by that Mercury retrograde energy that we talked about last week, right? Reincorporating things that you used to love to do that maybe you've let go of because you didn't have the time, the money, the whatever, and now it's coming back around and you're seeing that you need that in order to maintain balance in your life, balance between work and life and pleasure and all the other stuff that's not quite so fun. So this could also be a really great time to establish a new routine in your relationship with your children that could benefit you and your relationship with your children in the long term as well. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio, this energy is happening in your fourth house, which is the house of home, family, property, real estate, your parents, all of those types of things. And so in the fourth house, this is your roots that you're looking at here. What's interesting too is that I talk about sometimes when these fourth house configurations happen, I talk about people kind of connecting with their heritage or their ancestry in some way, which that could definitely be applicable to you. You could even reconnect with somebody or connect with somebody new who's a part of your heritage or your family lineage this week. But I wasn't even any at all interested in doing anything like that. And then my dad sent me his, like, he did one of those 23andMe, whatever it is, things, and sent me this whole report about his genetics and ancestry and all that. So I learned all this stuff that I wasn't even seeking out, and it just came in out of nowhere. So those types of things can be coming up for Scorpio too. And but anyway, I talk about these things and then they like happen in my life, right? Because I'm a Scorpio rising. But this could be a really great time for you to maybe reestablish better relationships, or even this would be a great week to reestablish, or to just for the first time in your life establish really good, acceptable, harmonious boundaries with your parents, with your family members, with your roommates, with people who are in your home environment in general, with your partner. If your partner is driving you crazy or you've been having issues in partnership, this could be a really great time for you guys to sit down, communicate, and to reestablish better boundaries and better routines as a couple, or better boundaries and better routines as a family, right? This could be a really great way to utilize this energy of Venus in the fourth house. This is also looking at something that you're going to be doing in relationship to your family, or creating a better balance and harmony for your home environment and your living situation or your property situation into the future, where it's kind of like you can see what changes need to be made, but it's kind of all over the place. It's like a big scattered mess. And now it's kind of like, all right, how does this all synergize? How does this all come together? That's what we're really working on this week, is that energy of Venus, which is the planet that has the ability to bring people, situations, ideas, things together. And so that's what we're working with for Scorpio. for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising. So this energy for you is happening in your third house, which is the house of communication. It's the house of learning and education, community, and forming bonds with people in your community, right? Your neighbors, your neighborhood. And so there's been a lot of pressure and change and kind of weirdness going on in the area of work, maybe in the area of health. You're like getting new disruptive information about your health, or maybe something comes up and you get a cold, or something like that, and it disrupts your schedule, it disrupts your work. It could also be that your work schedule has been disrupted, or just your work experience in general has been feeling a little different or a little bit more frustrating in one way or another. But for the most part, this has actually all been hitting Sagittarius in a more positive way, especially in the area of learning. So it's kind of like you're taking these concepts this week that you've been putting together, you've been learning something new, you've been set off in a new direction when it comes to your understanding of the world, or acquiring new important information, or connecting with your community, or establishing a better sense of community, or maybe even involving something involving teaching, writing, publishing, travel plans, all of that. And Venus is coming in to help you out. So you might have a new connection that comes in through your community, or through some sort of communication, or new information that comes in this week that helps you to synergize everything that you've been trying to set in motion, but maybe it's been a little scattered or a little all over the place. And so this is a great week for one-on-one connections, community connections, communications, collaborations of all kinds for Sagittarius. That's going to be the pressure release valve. Don't worry about all the, frustration or disruption going on that day-to-day level. Worry more about, connecting with people, because that's going to be the more positive energy for you this week to lean on. Okay, oops. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. So for Capricorns, this energy is happening in your second house, which is the house of money. And so, there might have been, first off, Capricorns probably have set something in motion, or have been trying to set something in motion involving a new financial plan, new financial goals, maybe a new budget or something along those lines, new investments, maybe even a new work experience that can bring in resources much more independently. I'm actually thinking of a couple Capricorns I know off the top of my head that are like literally doing this that I hadn't even thought about. So it could be that you're thinking about branching out and becoming an entrepreneur, doing something with that fifth house energy that ignites your passions, that you really are loving doing. And it's kind of like a creative self-expression, right? And maybe the goal here is to create resources, or to create more financial independence, or to create more independence from the system in the way that you generate your resources. That could be part of this energy too. But basically, there could have been some stalling out, or some frustrations, or some delays that are preventing you from actually moving forward with these plans. This week, somebody, something, or some money could come in that could actually help you out, bring things back into balance, make things feel easier for you. Some advice financially could come in, or an opportunity, or maybe even just a little bit of extra cash flow. It's probably not going to be a windfall because Saturn's involved here, but like just enough to kind of cushion things and make it so you can kind of breathe a little bit and figure out the next steps and the next goals here. This is a really great time for you to work on balancing your budget and reevaluating your financial situation, going over all the numbers, all the paperwork, everything, with that Mercury retrograde energy there too. And especially because Venus will continue to move direct through your second house, this is a great time for you to do that. And you'll be glad that you did as we move into like March and April and May, when the energy is much lighter and you'll have all of these opportunities coming up. You'll have your ducks in a row for that. All right, and for Aquarius and for Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this energy has been happening in your sign, and Venus coming into your sign is a very good thing. There might have been some frustration. It's kind of like you're starting fresh, like you're looking for a major reset on a personal level. Everything and anything that's not in alignment with who you are, who you want to be, what you came here to do, you're letting go of that, and you're kind of rebuilding from the ground up. It's like a purge of who you once were, and this opening up of opportunity. You want more freedom, you want more excitement, you want to be, true to yourself much more. This Venus energy, though, anytime Venus enters your first house, you're going to feel much more attractive, much more at peace, much more in harmony, much more in balance. And that's actually going to be the case more so later on in this month. So in the next couple of weeks when we have Venus, moving a little farther in there and not triggering the Saturn Uranus square. But even so, I mean, this is a good opportunity for you to reach out, and maybe somebody's going to come back into your life, or somebody new will come into your life, and that's going to help you to feel more at ease or at peace or in balance. This is a time where you're going to be seeking tranquility. You're going to be seeking greater harmony. You're going to be seeking a coming back to a state of equilibrium. There could be still some disruption going on when it comes to your home, your family, your property, your place of living, frustration, where you don't want to stay in that same situation anymore. And this is going to be a time where focusing on what you need and the people that support you in your goals and your needs and your aspirations and all of that, that's going to be kind of your outlet this week. For Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this energy's been hitting you a little bit more pleasantly than for some of the other signs, especially that Uranus-Mars energy. It's been trining your descendant, sextiling your ascendant sun or moon, and so it's been kind of putting a fire under you, right? To motivate you to change something, to do something, to take action in a new way, to take action in partnership. Maybe your partner or somebody that you're in communication with is firing you up to take action and make changes in your life. Those are all really good things, but there's something that you've been needing to work on letting go of, and there's been new knowledge that you need to acquire, or a new spiritual understanding of this reality, a new spiritual discipline that you've been needing to connect with in order to fully put the pieces together and to make these things happen that you need to make happen. Well, Venus is coming into your 12th house. That's not necessarily a bad thing, even with this Uranus square to Saturn being activated and all of that. Really, this is about, the 12th house is the house of endings. It's the house of wrapping things up. It's the house of letting things go. And so with Venus and in the sign of Aquarius, this could be you letting go of certain social connections that are far past their expiration date. This could also be you letting go of certain alternative spiritual concepts that are keeping you out of balance and out of harmony. Maybe, these concepts are not rooted in fact, they're not rooted in actual real information or real insight. Maybe these concepts are just not working for you. Maybe you find this week a new spiritual teacher, or like somebody who you can look to as a source of inspiration and information when it comes to a new spiritual discipline. That could be something you could do with this. And so it could even be you forming a connection with somebody in secret behind the scenes. And this could kind of disrupt the status quo for you on a mental level and in your relationships in general. And that could be part of this energy too. So a lot of interesting stuff going on here. But for the most part, for Pisces, it's going to be more subtle. You might have, this could even be something like kind of crazy, like somebody comes to you in a dream, right? A being or an entity or somebody who maybe you've met or haven't even met, that comes to you in a dream and gives you information, and that causes you to move on from something and to embrace something new, right? That would be like one very literal interpretation of this, but I guess not so literal, because that's like your dream world. It's not physical. But anyway, that's my forecast for Pisces. And so let's get into the forecast for next week. Next week, we got actually a lot of Mercury action going on. So Mercury is actually going to be retrograde in the sign of Aquarius, hitting its Cazimi period, where it comes into that conjunction with the sun. And that's going to be happening on Monday, February 8th. And that's going to be happening around 6:47 a.m. Mountain Time. Within a couple of hours of that exact Cazimi period, that's when Mercury is elevated. So if you've been feeling confused, if you've been having a lot of disruption and communication issues, if you have a lack of clarity around something, this is the period where you let your mind wander, you sit in meditation, you brainstorm, you journal, whatever it is. I like to disengage from doing things and actually just kind of like allow the information to come in. And usually I do have some epiphany moments. So This is a good time for that. The other thing that's going to be going on next week, of course, is that we have a new moon in the sign of Aquarius, and this is going to be a brand new beginning with a lot of these Aquarian themes. And Mercury will still be in a pretty tight conjunction, with the sun around that time. It won't be exact anymore, but it'll still be kind of close there. And we'll also have Venus in an exact conjunction with Jupiter at that time, which is considered to be a lucky energy, even though it is activating some of those more intense energies that we've talked about. And then we have Mercury is going to be squaring Mars and hitting Jupiter. So basically, what's going to be going on here later on in the week, especially like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday with Mercury, is that we have this period of clarity that happens at the start of the week. And then we have this period after that where we can't see things clearly and we're kind of like overthinking things with Mercury squaring Mars and in a conjunction with Jupiter, right? Which is this like expansive energy. Jupiter squaring Mars is always an overreactionary energy where people take things too far, take things to extremes, they overdo it. And with that Mercury energy, that could be the case. That could be something that's stimulated. You could overreact to something and like send a message that's way over the top and way overkill and kind of hurt yourself or hurt somebody else in the process. So you just kind of want to be aware of that. And this could also be where people are overdoing it on a mental level. I would say that this is an energy that's quite overstimulating and could cause a little bit of anxiety or restlessness, something of that nature as well. And so you just kind of want to be aware of those things and careful of those things later on in the week. But we do have this powerful new moon energy, and this is going to be, setting us off in a new direction. And it's going to be the beginning of a new lunar month. And in the sign of Aquarius, it's kind of like we've been going through this cosmic reset. We've been kind of figuring things out and figuring out where we want to move or where we want things to go for this next cycle. It's like a 20-year, 200-year, 800-year cycle. If you haven't watched the video about the Great Conjunction, definitely watch it. I did a forecast for all 12 signs. And now that we've kind of gotten a taste of it and we've gotten a lot of disruptive energy around our plans, this is like the reset where it's like, okay, now I can finally actually start the thing that I've been wanting to start since December. Now that all this craziness, has happened, I kind of have an idea of where things are going. And so this is where we're going to be setting intentions for that forward momentum into the future. And again, if you're not already a part of my cosmic community, you can join in on the new moon ceremony that we'll be doing next Saturday. And the link is down in the description below. I give journal prompts and descriptions of the energy for each sign and which topics to focus on for setting your intentions. I talk about the energy of that new moon. I talk about the most important energies for the entire month ahead. I talk about the major manifestation points for that new moon. And we do this and collaborate as a group. We share our intentions with one another. We share ideas for how to solidify those intentions and what to do in our private new moon intention setting ceremonies that we're in preparation for. So definitely a fun thing to do. You can join in. The link is down in the description below. And that's about it. So I will see you guys next week. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye, everyone.